Welcome to the Chad and Chong podcast. I am Chad.
And I'm Chong.
And today we are joined by special guests Izzy Santiago and Klever Alvarado, who are really good friends of the Chad and Chong podcast. They are co-owners and founders of Clear Audio Solutions. Clear Audio Solutions is a full-service event production and live entertainment company based in Southern California. The team provides professional audio production and high-level entertainment, helping couples, companies, and organizations create events that feel seamless, energetic, and unforgettable. At the core of their work is a simple belief. Great musicians and engineers are there to serve the moment. When the sound is right and the music connects, the entire event changes. Klever and Izzy, thank you so much for being on the Chad and Chong podcast.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for the black SUV that picked us
Yeah,
up.
oh
Yes,
my
sir.
God. And
The green room had M&Ms, and I
know,
appreciate that.
everything.
Thank you, bro.
Izzy and Klever, we've known you guys for a long time. I know Kevin's known you guys even longer, and we probably met through Kevin. But for those who don't know, can you just give them maybe like a quick 2-minute, of who you guys are, where you're from, and kind of what you do, and then we'll talk about how you got into starting Clear Audio Solutions.
I'm a bassist from Southern California. Just a musician since I was a kid, and working almost every night of the week for the last 15 years or so, and that's pretty much it.
I'm Izzy, pianist extraordinaire. Some say I'm the songbird of my generation, not Will Ferrell. No, I play keys. Grew up in music through church, and this is all I've ever done. Surprisingly, this is all I've ever done is music, and I'm grateful. I grew up, like I said, in the church. Did some in school, did high school jazz band, a little bit of college, and then I said the same for me, and bounced, and haven't looked back ever since.
Izzy and Clev, I think I met you guys at different times. I know, Izzy, we met on a recording with Camilo,
Yes.
maybe about more than 10 years ago now, something like that.
Yeah, I think way more than that.
Yeah, about 10 years ago. And Clev, I think I met you through Izzy when we started working, when you were running your corporate company. Izzy, you and I have worked together on numerous occasions. We toured a little bit, if you remember, back in 2018.
Yeah.
And just talk a little bit, I guess, about your experience as a musician, how that's been.
Yeah, like I mentioned, grew up in church, and at an early years, I was, I didn't come from a big church, but a lot of people seen kind of like something in me, and it's funny because I would get a lot of compliments, but I wasn't crazy about the compliments because it was always, man, Izzy, you're good, for your age. Man, you're a great musician for how young you are. And that, for some reason, that never sat right with me because I'm like, I want to be known for being good because I'm good, not because of my age or, anything else. And so that kind of pushed me to really like venture out and make this my career. And, along the way, I mean, I've did some touring, I played for, old school R&B artists and whatnot. And I learned a lot throughout the years on how to be a musician and how to balance that between, when you get in my now wife, how to make that a career choice that can also provide for a family. That was just, one thing that I had to focus on. Okay, if I'm going to do this, for a living, how do I make this work for a family? And, like, I think young musicians kind of have this, you grew up kind of looking at the limelight of the stage and the tours and all that. And when I did some of that, I wasn't like, it wasn't my goal to like want to be up in front and be on stage and be in front of the lights. It's great and, it's cool, but, I like to be home. I like my family. I like my wife. I love my wife.
I would hope.
And I wanted to be home, so I would travel and be gone for a few days, and be gone, kind of come home, and seeing that, I was just like, man, like there's something more to this that I think I can do, and kind of I guess the soul searching is I guess a gift that God gave me was to be able to see the big picture of things, and I took a business partner at the time. We kind of had this idea that we have that big picture of not just thinking of just me playing my instrument, but how can I make that bigger into, a company. And, the corporate company came around, and, we live in the pinnacle being in Southern California. We live in the hub of entertainment, and we're blessed to be able to be here. We happen to be here and grow up here. people will have to uproot from their lives and, drop everything and sell everything just to get here. And, looking at that, like, dang, we're literally here. So why not, think bigger, and why not, start something that I can leave to my kids, or I don't have to necessarily always play.
Yeah.
And so that's how, the corporate live entertainment came along.
Clev, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the same. I've always, growing up in church since I was a kid as well, I've always had, since I was crawling, my mom tells me that I've always had this thing for music, and I can remember sometimes, like, my mom will get mad at me because I will be banging on her pots and pans. I know a lot of people talk about that, but I actually do remember some of that stuff when I was a kid, 6, 7 years old. That was always like my dream. Like, I always wanted to do music. And I remember being a kid watching the guys at church, and just being a kid and just wanting to be a part of that was very important to me. And like Izzy says, you always think about, the lights and you want to be on stage and what was more important for me also growing up in church was it taught me to have a heart for God. We're not all perfect. I went through some stages in my life where I wasn't completely living for God, and that had to do a lot with the entertainment. Sometimes you get involved in the entertainment so much, so deep, that it kind of takes you away from that. And I think that now at my age that I'm at now, I'm 41, God is taking me back to those younger years. I know it's crazy to say that now, but I feel it, man. I feel like this. I've felt like this shift coming, and now God has opened so many doors, and not only with Izzy, because Izzy, I've always felt like Izzy has been like kind of like the brains, and I'm kind of like the muscle behind it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm always the one that's like, let's do it. Cool. And he's always the one that's more like, okay, hold on. Let's try to figure
like
this
more
out.
Methodical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Gotcha.
saying? And that comes from my background of like working, 5, 6 nights a week,
Yeah.
sometimes 7, where I was always like grind. And then also when he started talking about family, you kind of lose track a little bit of that. And I did, at some point. And I was like, God, I need you to start opening up some doors for me to be able to spend more time with my family and be there for my kids. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just glad to be in the position that I'm in now, where now I fully understand more of the business, thanks to Izzy, because he's taught me a lot too. And I've learned a lot of things throughout my life as well, working with other people and meeting new people and all that stuff. And you learn kind of like the do's and the don'ts, And I think that's very important for me now, just kind of looking back in my whole music career, you could say, because I mean, I've also worked with a lot of people. I really don't kind of like tell people what I do. I'm kind of like really low key when it comes to stuff like that. But I mean, it's only because it's not to praise me, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's more just to like I'm very big on like, just if I'm getting some, everybody got to get some. You know what I'm saying?
Good. That's good, man.
And I'm very big on, Izzy knows this, like I'm very big on taking care of people, and because I know what it's like to, you know what I'm saying? For example, a lot of these younger musicians, like I know what it's like to like chase your money and stuff like that. And it's not all about money, but it's important to live because we need it.
That's good.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
I've had the pleasure of, working with actually all 3 of you guys, mostly from a sound standpoint. And so I get to actually hear these guys' talent, and I get to kind of just put in my little 5% at the end there. But also, I know all 3 of you guys are super, super humble. But, to be honest, you guys are some of the most proficient and, really well-rounded musicians. You play so many different type of genres, day in and day out. And, I know nowadays, especially in social media, we see so much chops and this and that. And, you hear a lot of the top high-end musicians that say, like pocket is what pay the bills, and, playing the parts. I know, on tour, you guys just play the parts, because that's what's going to pay the bills. And at the end of the day, this is a career, and this is something that we do so that we can sustain a lifestyle. Can you talk a little bit about your guys' approach to the musicality? Like, has that always been there since the beginning? Like, was there ever a time? Because I know you guys can all shed and show off, or, show off your skills these days. But when did that importance of, pocket pays the bills mentality kind of kick in for you guys?
I don't know if there was like a pinnacle point that like, oh, this is what it is. But I think over the years it kind of develops. Once you get past your ego, I think. So I think, you have to work on yourself personally, and I think the biggest thing for us is ego. And when you're always on stage or you're always, that can mess you up in a lot of ways because it distracts you and it kind of blinds you from seeing things. And so I don't know if there was like a specific moment, but I think working with Stephanie Mills, I think that was, the legendary artist of her music and having the respect for like, she had this great career and her music, and she liked the music the way it was, and so really learning to respect it and kind of playing how she wants. And there's little moments where there's little flares you can do, but overall, like she liked her music the way it was, and that kind of taught me to like really, okay, like I get it. And then also, we're covering other people's music, and there's a reason why Bruno's stuff and all that it's a hit. I wasn't there producing it, although he hit me up a couple of times, and I was like, I don't got time right
different
now.
Bruno.
I don't know, yeah. But there's a reason why people grabbed a hold of that song and really took it to a liking, and you got to respect that, And so the chops are cool. It's good to obviously get your craft and all that. What was the question?
This was a couple of years ago. We were, you were showing me a video of a musician underscoring a pastor. And I remember that, you were in a polite way kind of saying, he's doing too much behind the pastor. And can you talk a little bit about kind of discerning the moment? I feel like a lot of musicians these days feel like they need to overplay in order to show their versatility.
Yeah, I think paying attention is the biggest thing. And I think we've all gone in like that, what's it, like the mechanical mode?
Yeah.
Where there's times, I mean, every musician knows where you could just kind of get lost and you're so mechanical where you're kind of playing and you're just kind of there. And I think, but paying attention for specifically behind pastors, you have to pay attention to, one, his tone and kind of what is it more he's teaching? Is it more kind of softer on his tone? Is he more, there's more rhythm to it? And kind of flowing that. So you're kind of finding the cadence of where he's at, and you're kind of helping to assist that. If I'm playing something happy and he's talking about something more in depth or something maybe personal, I'm not doing justice for the moment. I'm doing it for myself. And I think paying attention is the biggest thing and I guess that's helped me overall too, where you could have, a full band, but if you're not having someone who can kind of give some direction and kind of be the overall, see the overall picture of the vision of what's going on, you're just kind of the blind leading the line. You're just taking your band anywhere. And,
that's good.
So really just paying attention, I think.
Yeah.
And again, finding those, music is very emotional, and you got to be able to get in tune with your emotions. And so, finding just that, again, like I said, the cadence, the, what he's talking about and all that, and the pads help fill in the space. I didn't always grow up playing pads, but once I discovered him, it kind of helps fill in those spaces where now I don't have to, because your sustain's going to hold it for so long.
Yeah.
Then the note's done, and then you have to find another note. So having that pad that can hold it while I can let it breathe for a second, boom, so.
Yeah.
I think, that was the biggest thing, is just really paying attention.
That's good.
I love that attention to detail. And I know, Klever, like you and I, we work together in corporate and in church settings where, you've played alongside some musicians who literally tour with artists like Lady Gaga and have been on the Oscars and things like that. And again, being on the sound side and still being a kind of bassist sometimes, I notice that you just bring such a professionalism to things and an attention to detail, whether it comes from, all the way from your gear, the type of music, instruments that you use, the tone, even like the note selection that you use, that attention to detail, whether it's, again, at church or even in a corporate level where maybe a lot of younger musicians think, it's just, background music. Nobody's even going to pay attention. Like, you really approach it as if you are playing for A-list artists. Can you talk a little bit about like where that kind of mentality came from when you approach a gig?
Yeah, I think for me, it's, except for now that I play at the Way World Outreach in San Bernardino, I'm playing with a lot of younger musicians. They're all great, but I think my background from that comes from playing with older musicians. Like, I was always the youngest one in the band.
No, you're the unk.
and now I'm the unk, pretty much. Yeah, it's true. And
We're all getting there.
it's true. And now I look at things and I'm like, that's crazy, right? But to answer your question, like I was always around older guys that kind of taught me like, hey, like how to approach certain situations, And it's not always about noodling all over the place. You can, but you're not serving the music. You know what I'm saying? And especially like in church, because again, we're not playing for us. We're playing for God. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of younger musicians now forget that. They say, well, this is what I can do. Check it out. You know what I'm saying? And it's more, so it's more like you gotta remember that the purpose that you're there. Not only there, but also like in a corporate scene, same thing. Like you have to have the same approach to where you have to be professional, and you always have to think like, hey, I'm here to entertain these people. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to entertain myself, mm-hmm. Especially when you're running a business, because you want to put on the greatest show ever. So it's not about you. Mm-hmm. It's not about Izzy. It's about, you know what I'm saying? Like the guests and the people that are actually paying for our services, mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I got that from. I was playing at a church called The Fountain in Pomona. And I learned a lot from Donald Barrett. Mm-hmm. Donald Barrett was a drummer there. He's the one that actually plays with Lady Gaga, and he's been in the Grammys. So I learned a lot from him, like how to play the record, how to play the record, but play it like yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't just approach it like you play it like the record, but also play it like you would play it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I picked it up,
And that's a great segue, because I think, I'm newer to our relationship, even though it's been a while now, but that's definitely what I've noticed with you guys. If you can tell a little bit, we're kind of playful, we're fun, we're ourselves, but I mean, take it from these guys are the absolute pros at what they do. And again, the attention to details, to sometimes seemingly small things that nobody notices, the right people do notice. Mm-hmm. And I think it's such a testament to now how you guys are transitioning into this new business venture, because the professionalism, the attention to detail, the making sure that your clients are happy and that you serve them well has always been in your guys' DNA. Mm-hmm. And out of that birthed this new company called Clear Audio Solutions. How did this all start? How did this idea come about, and where are you guys now?
I think going back to him mentioning earlier about there to serve the moment, deciding to do this venture with him together was, we both understood that no matter who you've played with back in the past, no matter what you've done and what records you've been on, that's great. If we're on the stage together, that's all that matters in the moment. Who you played with doesn't matter in that moment. Like, we're there and we have one purpose. And that purpose changes whether you're there working in a church to, help usher in the presence of God or whatever it is, or you're entertaining a bride. Like, that's the bride and groom. That's their special day. Yeah. And it's not about us. We can't, think that everything we've done up to the past matters. It matters in the sense that it got us the experience of where we are now, but we're there to serve. And that's the one thing that you cannot forget. And early on, we've talked about, and this is even when I had my other corporate company. If anyone ever came in with an ego or made any of my core guys feel uncomfortable, whether Kevin or whoever it is, that was a no-go for me. Like, that is, I'll never hire you again, because we're there again. We're a team in that moment. Yeah. Same way a football player, whatever they've done before, if you're on that same team, then you're going to work together. And so, coming along to Clear Audio, we both had the mindset, and one, we both love our families, and we just want to do the best we can to provide for our families. And so there was a lot of common denominators within us that, like, we can take on this venture. I know what works, for corporate, for all that stuff. And, I said, let's build this thing together. And there's a need out there ultimately. And it's for good quality sound and good entertainment. And I think people have this misconception that because we're in LA or the LA area, Southern California, that it's so crowded, there's so many bands, but there's so much money out there,
so much work
out there, everybody. And you got to get it. And if you're smart about it, you'll do just fine. Yeah,
I like that. That because we've said it a lot of times. There is so much work. There is enough for us all to eat, you know, and in this day and age, especially again with social media, a lot of times there's this need of, or there's this feeling of competition. But when you get down to the core of it, and again, like all of us who have experienced a lot more now, we realize that the intention of why we do things and the purpose of why we do things kind of matter a little bit more. Speak a little bit into why you guys started Clear Audio Solutions.
I will say this, you know, like I said, in the past, I pretty much burned myself out working so much, right? When Izzy had his other corporate company, working with Kevin, working with everybody, really getting to see the big picture, I would always go home and I would be like, man, it would be cool to have something like this, like for myself, right? But the background that I come from doesn't really teach us, you know, how to get to that point. It's more like work, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to bash anybody, because if you want to work that many days a week, that's cool, man. More, you know, respect to you. But me, personally, like I said, when it came down to like having to spend time with my family, being able to take a vacation when I want, stuff like that, for me, they're more important now that I'm getting older, because I'm like, bro, like I don't know how long I have left. You know what I'm saying? So
Need the vacations.
you know what I'm saying? And we
Please
need
take 'em.
and we need you know, and he was always the one that was always pushing me like, bro, you gotta get out of that, man. You gotta like, dude, you gotta do something else. And I think I got to the point where I was like, hey, is like, you know, I kind of presented to him at first, I want to make this humongous, bro. Because I believe in like everybody getting a slice of the pie. Bro, we all have the same heart.
Yeah.
It's weird, bro. It's like we get together and yeah, we play around and we joke around and all that stuff, man. But when it comes down to getting, you know what I'm saying, getting the job done, bro, we've never had any issues. And for me, that's big, because playing with so many different bands and corporate bands here and there and all that, you see so much, man, and you kind of see like the do's and the don'ts. And when he was talking about like bringing in people that kind of make our people feel, not our people, but like the people that we're cool with, make them feel weird or whatever, that's a no-go for us, is because we want everybody to have the same heart, same mindset. And not only that, but most of the people in our team, they're believers. And I want to be around people like that. I don't want to be around the people that have bad habits and all that, because man, I've gotten into stuff that I shouldn't have been in the past, and I'm done with all that, man. I'm like I said, I'm too old, and I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, hey, if we're gonna do this, man, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it right, even if it takes us a while. You know, I know that for him, it might be a little bit more frustrating right now, because we're just starting and we're kind of putting the pieces together, because he already experienced having it. You know what I'm saying? For me, it's a little bit more like, no, we'll be fine. But I'm always the one that's like trying to push him, like, come on, bro, it's gonna be fine, bro. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that, for one, God is in the center of all this, man. Yeah. And people don't understand how important that is. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Having God in the center, bro, is the most important thing that you could do. Starting anything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of like my heart when we started this, man.
And secondly, too, having God in the center, but also community. And you know, there was a brief moment where I wasn't sure if I kind of wanted to, you know, I was kind of on the fence about doing, you know, starting this up, and it was just more personal stuff. But once I realized like who God had surrounded me with, and not just, you know, talent wise, obviously it blows out of the water, but heart, you know, mindset, and I said, man, God didn't, you know, give me this community for no reason.
For no reason, yeah.
And it'll be a shame if I let that go to waste, you know, because of, you know, being musicians, man, there's that roller coaster. Being an entrepreneur, there's a roller coaster. But just being a musician, everyday musician, man, you have those emotions where times are slow, times are, man, you're way up here, and you come down, you know, and you're like, get off of a big stage, come back to, you know, something that ain't so big, and you're like, oh, you know, what's going on here? Yeah. And so, you know, being that and being an entrepreneur, but, you know, building the business, I said, man, this is a great community of network. You know, we talk about networking a lot, but, you know, the networking, but also a friendship that's within it, and that common denominator of we all love God. And I think that was where I said, all right, Kev, like, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it right. And it's going to be big.
Yeah.
I still doubt every now and again.
I mean,
No, don't say that.
and that's normal, man. I mean, doubt comes to everybody, even even the people that are in the big stages. It's like doubt's always gonna be with that one thing, but you always have to have faith, man, and believe that God's gonna open doors, and that's exactly what He's been doing for us. Even though we might get a couple no's here and there, we're gonna get yeses just the same. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just happy. I'm happy, man. I'm happy to be in a different place in my, not only in my mind but in my heart, and and just surround, like he says, surrounding yourself with the right people. Yeah. About a year and a half ago, before I started playing at the Way, I remember, man, I was driving back home. It was like 1 a.m, bro. I was so tired, and I was just like dreading waking up the next morning for church. And I remember driving, and I had like about an hour drive. And I turned off my radio, and I said, "Okay, God, I'm done. I'm done doing this. I'm tired. I'm over it." I said, "God, whatever you need me to do, whatever you need to do to take people out of my life that don't need to be in my life, do it right now." And I kid you not, bro. People, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but people started dropping like flies, bro. Like flies, bro. People that I used to talk to all the time for no reason. Not necessarily because they served a purpose in my life, but it was just like I was like, God, give me people that have the same heart. That that we want to do the same thing, and we want to serve you, and not only that, but we want to put out a good product too. Yeah. Because people see the difference in us, bro. They see the difference, and I saw it when we used to do the other corporate thing with him. People used to always come up to us and be like, "Man, there's something about you guys," and we talk about that all the time. And till this day, they still say the same thing about you. They say the same thing, like, "Man, like you guys just have something special, man." And it's not because, oh, we're super dope musicians. That's besides the point.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is that we all love God, and people see that. Like you have to be that light when you walk into the room, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you walk into the room, people gotta be like, people that know God gotta be like, "Man, that guy's anointed," and he doesn't even know it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know because I've gotten that before, bro.
Yeah.
People have told me before, man, and I believe it, man. And I believe that God has given all of us a talent, man, and we have to utilize that talent, man.
Yeah.
We have to use it for Him, and then also to make a living, because like I said, it's not just about money, but we do need it to survive and to live. I mean, God's gonna open doors for us, you know.
And be musicians, man. You'll be in some of people's their highest point of their life, whether they're wedding or wherever that is, and you're sometimes serving at the lowest point, whether you're at a funeral playing for, something very, very tragic. And we go through a lot of emotions as musicians, and having your heart right is definitely key, because you're going to be in different environments. And you mentioned earlier about letting the environment engulf you. Like that's not. You have to protect yourself, protect your heart, protect your mind, because you're going to be in different situations, and even mentally. Sometimes I know freaking Kevin being, studying this song and then switching a whole different genre and doing this different thing, and kind of so your mind is like, man, okay, let me switch off this Latin mode, let me go into something else now. Let me go into church mode or gospel mode or whatever that is. So we're constantly as musicians going through these waves and waves of just emotions, and but having the right heart is definitely, I think, key.
Yeah, I can speak personally on both Izzy and Klever, who did me such a huge favor last year in September. I got married, and I called Izzy and I said, "Hey, man, what do you think we need to make this happen? So that we have guys on deck to be able to move one speaker to the next location, the subs, all that stuff, and for them to come through the way that they did. I mean, we had 2 different bands." We had a ceremony band as well with AJ and a violinist, a singer, and then the after party, which my brother ended up using his speakers. But I can say, from a personal standpoint, that they're not just saying these things just to say it because it's Chad and I. They're saying it because they live it, and they want to present a product that people can appreciate, but also that the clients would feel the friendship, the love, the care, that they want to make your event as special as possible. And they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that they can deliver the highest quality available. And so, thank you guys always for just doing that, not just as friends, but as, co-musicians and partners. It's been amazing to see. And congratulations to you guys.
Thank you, man.
For everything,
Yeah. Can you pay that invoice, by the way?
I think it's pretty evident throughout this podcast that you got to kind of just get a little glimpse of who these gentlemen are. Their attention to detail, the commitment to excellence, the always wanting to serve their client or whoever it is. And when people always ask, when you're starting a business or something like that, what makes you different? What sets you apart? And a lot of the times, the best businesses aren't the ones who reinvent the wheel. Clear Audio Solutions is an audio and entertainment service company. There's a ton of that here in Los Angeles. Yeah. I mean, just an absolute ton. And you could pick any one of them, and they'll probably do a great job. Yeah. But what you heard today here, hopefully, will hopefully expand you to see what makes the difference. Again, like not just in the actual service itself, but in the people who are there. Because again, in this industry, there's a lot of not ill intentions, but maybe people do it for different reasons. And you can see here that they're all about community building, all about making sure that once in a lifetime event that's going to happen in your life is done close to perfection. And that's who Clear Audio Solutions is. And so, gentlemen, we're so excited to be a part of Clear Audio Solutions. And we're just excited for the future. And we're excited to have you just bring that care, the professionalism, the excellence, the heart into whoever God places in front of you. And hopefully, maybe it might be you who's tuning in today. And if you're maybe trying to start a company or something, these are really pillars that you should really consider. And that it's not just about, being great at your craft and things like that, but understanding the heart, the motivation, and the desire of why you're doing this.
Where can people find you guys on social media?
Social media, we're Clear Audio Solutions on Instagram and there we go.
Oh, yeah. Boom.
Website, clearaudiosolutions.com. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Izzy and Klever, for coming out from so far. I only say so far because traffic is horrible today.
Yeah.
But we thank you guys for checking out this episode. If you have not already, we invite you to subscribe on YouTube. If you are listening via Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure you rate the show 5 stars and also follow, please. We love you guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Like and subscribe.